What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on a knife that really surprised me, and I ended up really loving, and that is the Karbon Knives Smokeshow. So this is the brother to the Karbon Knives Buckhorn, which if you guys caught yesterday's video, I did a full review on that. If you didn't, you want to go check that out, definitely do so, please. But yeah, the Smokeshow, guys, this thing is fan-freaking-tastic. Of course, designed by Ken Onion. You guys can see his name right there on the backspacer. And this knife really blew me away. When I saw Kevin, posting about it and saw some other people had got it in, shortly after its release, I really didn't give it too much thought. But damn, I was wrong. I really genuinely love this knife. I really want them to make some more versions of it because I'm not the biggest fan of the materials used, but for fit and finish and for action, ergos, all the things that really, truly matter in a knife. I have very thoroughly enjoyed it. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into the review. This is currently in stock on Knife Center's website, so I will leave a link to that down below if you guys are interested in checking it out. Seeing some specs and seeing some other information on it. But yeah, the Smokeshow is truly a smoke show, guys. This thing is really good. It's a flipper only knife. You guys can see right there. Nice, relatively unobtrusive flipper tab. You got some nice jimping on there. Not overly aggressive, not going to rip your hands or anything like that. But looking at this knife, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different, things that catch your eye. Starting with the pivot there, we have a very interesting design, kind of like a stripe design on both sides. Not my favorite. You have this copper foil carbon fiber, kind of a mouthful. Not the biggest fan of that. I mean, it's okay, but it's not something I would want on a knife in my own, collection. You have some cut lines there with some different designs going on. You have a copper or gold backspacer. You have a non-reversible milled titanium pot clip with a design on it that's similar to the pivots. M390 there on the flipper tab with a beautiful, very interesting blade shape. This thing reminds me of like a submarine. You have a little bit of a jimping ramp up here, kind of a harpoon. We'll see what they're calling it technically on here. I guess they're calling it a drop point, but I see a little bit of spear point in there. You have this nice swedge building up top there, carbon there on the side, and then Smokeshow. Internal milling is non-existent on this knife, but overall it's pretty lightweight. Some quick specs for you. You have a blade length of 3.29 inches, a cutting edge of 3.25, a closed length or handle length of 4.46, so 4.5 inches. You get an overall length from tip to butt of 7.75, blade thickness of 0.13, M390 blade. The blade finish is bead blasted. It comes in weighing 3.88 ounces, which honestly feels really good. It's definitely not a featherweight, but it's not designed to be. But it's, a good substantial amount of weight that feels great in the hand, feels very, again, substantial, usable, all those things. Now you have to take the materials with a grain of salt. So it's obviously titanium, frame lock, M390, beautiful blade shape, flipper action, milled clip. I love this knife so much, but it's weird. I love the knife and I really enjoy the knife, but I don't love the exact materials used on it. This is kind of flashy, kind of gaudy a little bit. I would never buy the, copper foil, aluminum, or carbon fiber. It's okay. It's just not something that I would go out of my way to buy to my collection. I really want them to come out with like a micarta version or a full titanium version would be killer. I really hope they do that. Just something nice and simple and clean. I would absolutely buy that. The copper color is okay. So it's weird. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 because I really, I love the knife. I love the M390, the titanium, the frame lock. And it's just weird. I love the knife so much and I'm giving it a 5, but I don't love all the materials on it. If that makes sense to you guys. I'm just envisioning what this knife could be with, different materials and different inlays and things like that. But for some reason, I'm just not vibing with the carbon fiber, or I keep having a mouthful there, the copper foil carbon fiber. It's okay, just not my vibe, but we'll leave it at that. Hopefully you guys are, able to understand my thought process behind that, but we're going to give it a 5 out of 5 anyway, because the materials, regardless of my, personal opinion, for the price and everything like that, very, very fair. So we're going to give a 5 out of 5 on the materials. The aesthetic, now this is an easy 5 for me. I love the way this knife looks. The handle has really grown on me. Very, very simple, clean lines, straight lines. The blade shape is, again, they're considering it a drop point, but I see like 3 or 4 different blade shapes kind of put together here. And like I said, it reminds me of kind of a submarine. It just looks really, really good, has a good amount of flow to it. And I really liked it. It's something that, like I said, I kind of overlooked it whenever I saw other people posting about it, doing reviews on it. But now that I have it in and I was able to spend some time with it, I really have grown to love the way the knife looks, and specifically the blade shape. It's unique, but it's simple at the same time, and for that I love it. Next up is action. Now you guys know, for it to be a single flipper only action, and for me to like it or to have one in the collection, it has to be really, really good. Well, lo and behold, this one is really, really good. Good amount of detent there. No blade play whatsoever. This thing has been locked up tighter than a bank vault the entire time that I've had this in, and I have fidgeted with this knife a ton. You guys can see push button works very, very well. Light switch also works very, very well. Go back and forth to whatever your heart's desire, is. Use your preferred method. Now on the close, you guys can see frame lock with a little bit of scalloping there. Works very, very well. Drops, close. Or if your thumb's up a little bit higher, the flipper tab will hit your thumb, and then one shake basically in your close. Or if you drop it down lower, the blade will come down. Sometimes it'll nick your cuticle. Other times, depending on where you're at, it will land right on your thumbnail. You just get used to how the knife operates. But buttery smooth action. I don't know if Kevin put skips or anything in here, or if these are the factory bearings. But regardless, the action is phenomenal. Very, very good flipper action. Just, again, buttery smooth. Couple micro shakes and it's closed. Really, really nice drop. So yeah, 5 out of 5 on the action with the Smokeshow. Next up is acoustics. I'm going to keep that same energy because I gave the Buckhorn a 3.5 because it was, pretty basic, pretty what I expected it to be. And that's what I'm going to give this as well. I feel like if they would have done some internal milling with that titanium, they really could have allowed it to, have more acoustics, have a little bit more high pitched, on the open. But, they didn't, and that's okay. I just don't think the acoustic is very good. I mean, it's okay. It's good. It's decent. It is what it is. But we're gonna go 3.5 because I really just don't think it's worth, giving it a 4 or a 4.5. It's definitely not a 5. So we'll go 3.5 and move on. Next up is the ergos. Absolutely fantastic on this. Like I said earlier, with the lines, that translates over very, very well into the ergo section. It's a very simple design, pretty much a straight line on both sides. You get a little bit of jimping up on top here of kind of the ramp or the harpoony area. And it feels very, very good in hand. The jimping is, not very aggressive, but it's just enough for it to be a little effective. But you get a nice natural restriction point right here. Excuse me, a little sip of water. You get a nice natural restriction point right here with the flipper tab. I can get all 4 fingers on this knife very, very easily, very, very comfortably. Saber grip works really well. Hammer grip works really well. Pinch grip works fantastic with this knife if you want to get up and do some slight detail work. The blade shape is really good for cutting through material. If you're doing push cuts and you need a little extra oomph, the way the blade is shaped, it's just going to keep eating material, which is really, really nice. The carbon fiber is, doesn't really provide much from an ergo standpoint, but it's smooth. The transitions are relatively good on this knife. The only thing that I can really see is this little mark down here, but that is part of the frame lock side. So when you push the knife over, you guys can see it closes a little bit, but it's not a true flush transition. But you can't feel it from the ergos. That's just something I wanted to point out to you guys. But the ergos are very, very comfortable, very, very easy to hold in the hand. And it's just such a neutral blade or handle shape that, these are my favorite types of knives that are just so neutral, so simple, and they are just so comfortable to use. They don't get your hands don't get tired utilizing it. There's no hot spots. The clip is, pretty flush to the scales. No sharp edges or anything like that. Just comfortable in all the right ways, and that is exactly what the Smokeshow brings to the table. So we're going to go 5 out of 5 with the ergos. Next up is carry. Comes in weighing just under 4 ounces, 3.88. But honestly, very similar to the buckhorn. Both these carbon knives carry their weight very, very well. This is about, I think, 4.5 ounces, but it carries much lighter than that. And this is, like I said, 3.88 ounces, but it carries much lighter than that. And I really appreciate that about them. The pot clip is a milk clip, but you guys can see it goes pretty deep into the pocket, and I would say it shows about that much, which is not a big deal whatsoever. Not the biggest fan of the aesthetic of the pocket clip. It's a little bit gaudy and a little bit tacky and a little bit flashy, something that I would never, like I said earlier, choose to put on there. But as a clip itself, it functions very, very well. Sits down in the pocket. You do have a flipper tab down here, but very similar to the buckhorn. It's, pretty unobtrusive. The jimping on it is very, very, it's just enough to be used in the function of opening the knife, but as far as just rubbing up against it, your finger's just going to bounce right off, which is fantastic. Sits down in the pocket pretty well. It's a pretty slim overall, compact design, and I have no issues whatsoever on the carry. We're going to go 5 out of 5 as well on that one. And that leads me to my final category of price point / value / what I recommend this knife. So the price point is the only thing that I don't love about so the price point and just the use of materials, I would love to have a much more simple design, but that's neither here nor there. But the price point comes in at $355. And I don't know, I just feel like that maybe is a smidge too high. I would love to see this right around the $300 mark. But I mean, you're getting premium materials, you're getting titanium, M390, flipper tab, great action, great ergos, great carry. Everything about this knife is phenomenal. And like I said, I really love it. This is going to be a knife that I miss when I ship it off to the next person. And for the third or fourth time, I'm really, really hoping that they end up doing just a plain Jane titanium version, or with how successful the buckhorn was with the premium version, they decided to do a budget version. I would not be opposed to this becoming a budget version. Maybe some 14C or some 14C 28N on the blade steel, maybe some aluminum scales, and even in like an inset liner lock, I would be okay with. I just don't think it's the best value. I would love to see this maybe closer to 300, maybe 325. I don't know. I don't have an issue, I guess, at 350. I just think there's a lot of other knives out there that you get very, very similar materials for a good amount less. So at that point, I can't tell you guys that I think it's a great value. I think it's fair. Let's say this. I don't think it's a value, but I think it's fair for the materials. I think it's fair for the price that you get. I would just love to see it a little bit less. But I can recommend it so much to you guys. I love it. This has honestly been kind of a peculiar review because I expressed how much I love the knife, but there's a few issues with it that I have qualms with. And it's just weird. It's weird because I love the knife so much, but I'm not going to go right away and buy the knife. I want to see if they come out with more materials, more options, more variants. So this is kind of an interesting review. I really, I did not envision kind of contradicting myself, which you guys are probably thinking like, Alex, what are you doing? You're expressing how much you love the knife, but then you're saying, you're not giving it the great value that you think it is. So I don't know. It's been an interesting review, and I'm obviously talking too fast. So yeah, as far as values are concerned, we'll go 4. we'll stick this, keep the same value we went with for the buckhorn. And I don't know, I know Karbon's, just started, and they're just getting on their feet. So I know like boutique brands like that tend to be a little bit more expensive. Like I said, I don't have an issue with it. I just think it could be a little bit cheaper. And I just don't think that makes it a great value. But let me count this up here real quick. So I have the Karbon Knives Smokeshow coming in with a score of 32.5, which just gets it into the fantastic category. And I think that's deserving, guys. I really do. I hope this video wasn't too contradictory, which I've realized I have done so a little bit, because this knife really is fantastic. If you are a fan of, this sort of carbon fiber, and it doesn't really, not saying it bothers me, it's just not something I would go out of my way to pick up and add to my own collection. And I could just go without, kind of the cheesy lines on the pivot and the flashy pocket clip and stuff like that. If this were ever made into a plain Jane titanium pocket or knife variation, I would pick one of these up probably pretty quickly, because I am a huge fan of it. I think it looks great, it feels great, action's great. There's so many good things about this knife. There's just a few, I guess, large nitpicks, but I can recommend it to anybody. There's so many good things about this knife that outweigh the things I don't like about it to still make me want to buy it in the future. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they come out with a new variation of it. But yeah, 32.5 still lands it in the fantastic category. And I think I was able to get my points across to you guys enough. Hopefully you guys, were able to pick up on things that I loved about the knife, and you're able to take the things that I don't like about the knife with a grain of salt. But yeah, this was my full review of the Karbon Knives Smokeshow. Definitely a surprise knife so far. Very, very happy to have it in and to have spent some time with it, because I am going to miss it. But huge shout out to Kevin over at Lefty DC for always allowing us to check out really cool stuff. Huge shout out to you guys as well for always supporting, commenting, liking, doing the things you do. Leave a comment down below. Did any of you guys add the Smokeshow to your collection? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you kind of feel the same way with me? Like you really wish they would come out with some more variations of it? As always, I love to hear what you guys have to say. But I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.